Now, a story that caught my eye today, it's emerged that a Premier League footballer is having therapy because he's too afraid to come out. He's given an anonymous interview to a tabloid newspaper saying that he's sought psychological help amid fears of how rival fans will react. I think it's safe to say as well, no footballer really at the top flight level has come out since Norwich star Justin Fashanu, who announced he was gay in, I think it was 1990. Obviously, tragically then went on to take his own life in 1998. Keeping me company still, Francis, Tom and John. John, I'm going to start with you. You used to be a super agent, football agent.
Start with me on this one.
Yeah, and unless my sources have got it wrong, you've just done a documentary as well about this topic. What's your thoughts on all of this?
Oh, it's really painful, actually. I've taken part in a Channel 4 documentary which will be shown later this year on this subject. Look, here's the scenario. Two black footballers take penalties at the end of England's final during the summer and miss. And the racists all came out the woodwork again, appallingly. If those players had been gay, that would have been equally as totemic. It would have been awful for those players. Any mistakes, miss saves if you're a goalkeeper, bad play making if you're in the midfield, all of that is open to criticism at any time. If you're gay, adds another layer to it. It's going to be really, really difficult for a player to come out and say he's gay, and be just regarded as another footballer. I mean, sadly, that's where we are. I hope it does happen. I think it will happen. I think it has to happen. Yeah. And actually, who cares what you are? But there will be people who have grown up in football, which is a macho environment, who will say, no.
Is this a football problem, John? Because
no, I don't
thought
think it's
we
just
moved
football.
on, though, from the 1980s.
Football is just representative of society.
Yeah.
But do you not think at the societal level we have thankfully got to a stage now with, equal marriage, with civil partnerships, with this sort of sense of who you love and who you're in love with? That's completely a matter for you
you're right.
at the societal level.
Absolutely right.
So what is it about
all those
football?
Marriages and situations don't happen inside 50,000 people's emotional environment where everyone's shouting at everybody, and you can say and do inside a football stadium up to a point things you can't say and do on the streets because you're in an emotional environment where your team is playing badly, team playing well, that player's had a terrible game and he should be sold and whatever. So all of that is an environment of cauldronism. So to add another layer, I'm not saying we shouldn't. If you're a gay player, there's no reason why you shouldn't come out publicly. I think the problem is that whoever comes out over the coming period of time is going to suffer, and they're going to have to be very brave.
But Francis, I was just mentioning about Justin Fashanu there. He came out, I think, 1990, and there was a lot of, I'm just showing you there, the front page of how he of how that came about. And I just think, has life moved on? That was 1990, here we are now, 2021. Why anyone is interested in who anyone else sleeps with is beyond me. What's it got to do with you? And if that's not your partner, then quite frankly, it's irrelevant. So I don't quite understand this obsession with people's sexuality. But do you think that, football, I don't want to ask, is it a safe place for people to come out? But, how do you think it would be received in this day and age?
Look, I can imagine that in the dressing room. I imagine that most footballers would be very supportive. It wouldn't bother them. They wouldn't care. I think the problem will come when they go out in front of 40 or 50,000 people, particularly in an away game, particularly when fans will say and do anything in order to put off a member of the opposition. And as a result, they will do that. I was talking to someone who I actually regarded as a friend. And this was during the time when Frank Lampard was playing for Chelsea and his mother recently passed away through cancer. And he told me, he was a Spurs fan, that he shouted something at Lampard about his mother in order to put him off. And I just went I went to him, so just let me get this straight. So in order to make sure that Frank Lampard didn't play as well as possible, you shouted out something about his mother who had recently died. He went, yeah. And I think, unfortunately, that's a lot of attitude of, and I'm a football fan, I got to watch West Ham, of a lot of football fans. And they will see it as fair game in order to put someone off from playing at their best. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, Adam's got in touch on Twitter as well and said if the penalty takers that missed the penalties at the Euros were gay, he feels that they would have had far more abuse than the 3 black footballers got. You know, see, if football, I mean, what goes on in football, you know, whoever's kind of behaving like this, I do think it's for the people, supporters around them as well, to kind of make sure that that behaviour doesn't go unchallenged. But if what you're saying to me, John, is that basically any point of difference is going to be attacked by a rival fan, literally anything Francis is saying about someone's mum's just died, you know, you're saying about the race, the skin colour, you know, then at what point does someone just go, do you know what, I am what I am, I'm happy with who I am, and if you're going to abuse me, then that is on you rather than on me. And why should I live my life in a sheltered way and a dishonest way in order to avoid idiots, basically?
No, you're not wrong, Michelle. Francis and I were having a conversation before we came on air earlier, talking about his comedic career and how far can you go without the comic element of it becoming abusive and offensive. There's a very thin line, and it's shifting all the time in our society. Now go into the football environment where you're talking about, and I can't disagree with anything you've just said, and amplify that times 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. You've got your mates here, you're out, you're having a good time, the team's winning 2-1. Oh, you've just given a goal away, now you're angry. Oh, you've got another one. Oh, now you're excited. Your emotions are swinging around and something happens and the gay footballer on the other side or on your team does something and out it comes. And it's not to be applauded, but it's going to take time. In reality, if this started happening, if gay footballers started coming out more publicly now, what are we, October? The rest of this season,
quite a few,
I'm sure there are, but the rest of this season, this would be a debate. And that's just the beginning. It's going to take a couple of years for us to assimilate all this.
Charlie's emailed in and said no player will come out as gay if they've got a chance of playing in the Qatar World Cup. That's what Charlie says.
Listen, there are countries you can't... If you're openly gay, there are countries around the Middle East where your career could end, where you can't go. That's not a problem of Great Britain, it's a problem of global society.
I'm going to finish there, actually, but just tell me very quickly, just remind my viewers, because I vaguely remember there was a problem in the Euros, or close to the Euros, with a stadium that was quite homophobic, and wasn't there like a problem wanting to light it up with it? What was that, very briefly, what was that about? Just remind.
In Europe, there was, I can't remember now which stadium.
I think it was Hungary. It was
Hungary, you're absolutely right. And we've had that revisited recently with the Hungarians here being allegedly somewhat, well, not allegedly, you could see it being somewhat racist. So, look, the problem is global, the problem isn't always ours. I go back to Britain as a society, I think it's a decent place. And I think we should encourage people to be what they are. I just want to caution, because you asked the question, this is not going to be an unpainful process.
An easy journey.
No. A painless process.
We shall see what happens with that. Anyway, let me move